The 9 biggest obstacles that are keeping you from your success. That and more, straight ahead on today's episode of the Steve Freeman Podcast.
You're listening to the Steve Freeman Podcast, the real, raw truth about the pursuit of success in music, business, and life. Here's your host, hit songwriter, multi-platinum selling producer, and serial entrepreneur, Steve Freeman.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode. Another week. Here we are. It's good to have you here. I'm glad to be here. I don't know about you. I assume since you're watching or listening that you're happy to be here too. Coming up today, we're going to talk about the 9 biggest obstacles that are standing between you and your success. Before we do all that, let me get the business of the day out of the way. The part that everybody hates. But I'm sorry, it's got to be done. Don't forget to rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you're following the podcast so that it downloads to your smart device if you're using an iPhone every Wednesday when new episodes are uploaded at 6:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. If you're watching the video version on YouTube, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, that you've clicked the bell icon to be notified, and then you've clicked the drop-down menu to tell it that you want to be notified for every new video that gets uploaded. But subscribe to the channel, that's the main thing. If you want to connect with me one-on-one, I would love nothing more than to have you a part of our growing community. You can do that by simply sending me a text, 949-577-8227. 949-577-8227. Shoot me a text, I'll text you right back. What's the last one? Oh, Instagram. Make sure you're following me on Instagram, at the Steve Freeman. And listen, on as far as Instagram, I'm a little nervous about Instagram here lately, if I'm being real honest with you, over something that's happened to a good friend of mine. My buddy Doug Ellen is one of the co-hosts of Victory the Podcast, as well as Hollywood Ways with Breezy from All American and Empire. Doug was the writer, director, creator of the show Entourage on HBO. And they have Victory the Podcast, a very successful podcast. If you are an Entourage fan like you got to go check it out. The show, he hosts the show with Kevin Dillon and Kevin Conley. It's a great show. And his new podcast, Hollywood Ways, is really good as well. Check those things out. Especially if you're creative in that world, I think you'll really, really get something out of them. But I digress. A couple of weeks ago, Doug's big into pickleball. I really want to get into pickleball, by the way, but I just don't want to drive from my house to Beverly Hills to play where he plays. But I want to get into it. I'm trying to talk my buddy Michael Ballier down here in Orange County to getting involved in pickleball. It looks like a lot of fun. Exercise, I could use the exercise. Anyway, Doug had put up a video of himself playing pickleball like he normally does, and a friend of his. This is not a stranger. This is a friend, put up a comment on the video. Doug responds to the video, "I could beat you with my iPhone." Now, if you know anything about pickleball, it's like a cross between tennis and ping pong. It's a smaller court, smaller game, so it's but it's like tennis, right? And you play with partners. And you play with paddles, like rackets, okay? So what he was meaning by that was he wouldn't need a pickleball racket to beat this guy. He could beat him with using his phone. Has had his Instagram account completely taken down and removed. Completely. And the word is right now that he will never get it back. This whole thing with deplatforming people is just going nuts. And so, he's posting through the Victory the Podcast, Instagram, and the Hollywood Ways, which, by the way, Hollywood Ways is with a Z, not an S at the end. So he has lost his Instagram account. And everybody knows me. I say some pretty mean stuff sometimes, and I worry. I worry about what I put on Instagram now. I've actually had people tell me, "Hey, man, you don't post stuff like you used to." And it's like, I don't. Any little word that you say now is going to get you deplatformed. And it's like we all rely on social media. We have to have social media. It's the epicenter of our social life. It's the epicenter of our business. It's through which all things flow. But I would love to have you follow me on there. You can DM me there as well, but there's nothing faster than just sending me a text, and then I can respond right back. So if those of you, if anybody's wondering why I've kind of been not posting on Instagram that way, that's kind of the reason why. I know there are people lobbying, and I hope Doug gets his Instagram back, because I think that's complete and utter bullshit. I understand these companies are private companies and whatnot, but it's ridiculous that any platform, social media platform, has the right to completely silence you if they don't like what you've said. Especially when you can't even, and it's all algorithm based, but when you can't even take into context what was being said, that he wasn't threatening to beat anybody with an iPhone. He was basically saying that I don't need a racket. I can use my iPhone and I can beat you. That's what he got his Instagram handle and page completely taken away for. Very interesting. So you got to be careful. Nevertheless, let's talk about success. You guys like it when I talk about success. That's another good thing about being a part of the community is you can text me ideas for the podcast, guests who you'd like to see, what kind of content you want to hear about. And you guys, evidently, you like it when I talk about how to be more successful. Look, we all want to be more successful. I want to be more successful. I've talked about it in the past. In the music business, I reached the top of the mountain, or what I thought was the top of the mountain. When I got to the top of the mountain, I just saw the top of another mountain. It's an ongoing merry-go-round of depression, success, peaks and valleys, and we're past it now. But look, I still have plenty of things I want to accomplish, and I know you guys have lots of things that you would like to accomplish as well. I see that there are many things when I do speaking engagements or when I do one-on-one coaching sessions with people. This is by far the topic where we really hone in and we focus and we really drill down. Because I'm here to tell you, if you are not where you want to be in your life, if you're not where you want to be in your business, and I'm talking realistically here. I'm not saying, God, I wish I was Warren Buffett. I'm just talking about being realistic with yourself. If you're not happy with where you are or satisfied with where you are, you can't blame anybody else. It is 100% up to you, unless you have given that responsibility of your success to somebody else. And many, many of you do that. Oh, if I just had the right manager. Oh, if I just had the right booking agent. Oh, if I had the right social media person. Oh, if I had this, if I had that, if I had the 40-foot Prevost bus, then I could tour in that. Oh, if I had that right there is number one. Number one, if you do not place the person that stares back at you when you look in the mirror, if you don't place 100% of the responsibility of you making it or not making it or being successful or happy or satisfied on that person, then your lack of is your fault. Stop blaming, and this is going to be one of the things we're going to talk about. It's nobody else's responsibility to make you happy other than your own. There's nobody else out there that realizes your expectations more than you do. Today, I want to talk about nine of the biggest obstacles that stand between you and your success. And they all, by the way, point back this way. You know, they say when you point like that with somebody, there's one pointing out and four pointing back at you. That's going to be kind of the way this goes today. The first obstacle I want to talk about is envy. This is when you count other people's blessings instead of your own. And I will tell you right now, envy destroys success. The more you can focus on what you have to offer, what you have going on, what's really happening in your life, and the less you can focus on what you don't have and what you think is the next thing that you have to acquire to make sure that you're happy, and you look at that and you see, look, you can be envious of other people. You can be envious of your own goals that you've set for yourself. If you're constantly living in a place where if I just had this so that I could take this next step, then you're employing envy of yourself and your unaccomplishments. Think about that for a second. We always talk about envy and we think we're placing that on somebody else and we're envious of somebody else. How many of you are envious of the things you haven't accomplished yet because of yourself? That's a tough one, isn't it? By the way, envy it's an illusion. Somebody else's good fortune takes nothing away from you. I get asked all the time through the community or when I'm out in public or I'm speaking with people. People ask me all the time, man, I've seen your videos on YouTube and I've seen some of your courses and I've seen some of that stuff. Aren't you ever afraid of giving people the secret away? And they're always surprised when I say, no, your success doesn't threaten me. The more you accomplish does not diminish or delineate anything that I have accomplished or anything that I will accomplish. Matter of fact, I made a change in now used to it did. I'll be honest with you. Used to it did. I wouldn't write with specific people because I didn't want that song to have success and I didn't want those people to have success riding my coattails. That's 100% honesty. I knew they weren't as good. I knew they didn't put in half as much of the work. I knew the situations they got themselves in were purely because of relationship, not because of how hard they worked at their craft, and I was not going to be a stepping stone. That's just honesty and truth. But as I've gotten older, and something happened when I turned 40. And I looked at things differently and I thought, really, it's my job with everything that I've accomplished. I think I should take on an educator role, not a competitive role, not a competitor role. But look, my goal now is I want all of you to be way more successful than I am. Look, again, I'm responsible for my success. There's nothing you can do to keep me from achieving and reaching the level of success that I have in my mind from now moving forward. So that you don't threaten me. Your success doesn't threaten me. I want you all to be 1,000% more successful than you've imagined in your mind. As long as you work for it, I'm all for it. So stop being envious of other people. It's a huge obstacle. It's an illusion. And it keeps you focused on what other people are doing instead of what you are doing or not doing to make sure that you get where you want to go. Cut the envy out. Another big obstacle, and this one is a big one. I've dealt with this one many times in my life and in my professional life. Perfectionism. Self-abuse is the highest order of damage that we can do to ourselves. We allow ourselves to be governed by the harshest voices in our own heads. Kind of like we talked in last week's episode, we are our own worst enemy. We very rarely pump ourselves up. Have you ever noticed that one? It's hard for us to rely on ourselves for inspiration because we don't play that role for ourselves. We're typically the ones, we are self-doubt, we're self-deprecating, we're not good enough. We don't do this well enough. This looks horrible. We've talked about it before. I've not created content because I didn't feel like I was good enough at it. That feeling of I'll never be good enough. That's self-imposed. If you have people in your life that are telling you you're not perfect, so it's not worth it and stop it, then get rid of those people out of your life. That's very simple. We can't get rid of ourselves. We live with us every day. We are in our own head. Stop the self-abuse. Here's something I realized. We're not ever going to do anything perfect. Ever. Case in point, this podcast. If you guys knew the setting that we're in, if you're watching the version on YouTube, if you only knew I've gone through 8 different sets since we've moved to California because I didn't like the way this looked. This isn't perfect. I don't want that to show. I want this to show. I don't like that angle. And then I realized why am I trying to achieve perfection? It doesn't exist. There's nothing out there that's perfect. The next song you write isn't going to be perfect. The next video you put out isn't going to be perfect. No matter how long you spend editing that motherfucker. It's not going to be perfect. The way you spoke into the camera isn't going to be perfect. Now, practice, regardless of popular opinion, does not make perfection. Practice makes better. So we all should do so that we get better, but we will never achieve perfectionism. It's unobtainable. So why in the world are any of us, myself included, spending any time whatsoever chasing something we can never catch? So perfectionism, huge, huge obstacle. Number 3, we talked a little bit about last week. Let's talk about comparison. Successful people don't compare themselves to others. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of energy. There's nobody else like you. I tell people this all the time, and I put it out on Instagram every once in a while because I feel like it's a message that people need to see. It's a message people need to hear. Be the best you that you can be. Be the me. Be the you, I guess, is really. I'm talking to myself here. Be the you were meant to be, not the you're trying to be. There's a big difference. Stop looking at this person with this YouTube channel or this artist or this songwriter or this real estate agent or this car salesman or this interior designer or whoever, this singer. Stop comparing yourself to those people. God made us all unique. There is nothing like you, exactly like you, out there in the world. Why do we often, and I don't know why, I know I do it. We often see that as a negative thing. We never really take the opportunity to look at ourselves and go, I'm fucking unique. There's nobody else out there like me. Nobody. Now, I might not be for everybody. I'm not the kind of unique that is going to translate with everybody, and that's okay. Be you. Embrace your uniqueness. Be glad that there is nobody else out there like you. Stop trying to be like everybody else. Why would you want to be? Stop the comparisons. You weren't meant to be that other person. You weren't meant to be like that. You see this all the time in business. You see this all the time in your personal life. Why can't you, other people say, why can't you be more like that? Or look how that person is with that person. Like, well, that's not me. That's the simplest answer that you can come up with. I don't know because I'm not that person. I'm me. Stop trying to change yourself to make yourself more like others. To fit in, to succeed, whatever. There is way more value in you being you than you trying to be somebody else. Because again, it's something you'll never achieve. We talked a little bit about this one. Number 4 is blame. Blaming. Our lives, our successes, our achievements are a sum of what we make ourselves. Blaming other people gets you nowhere. It's like I told you earlier. If you're not where you want to be, blame the man or the woman or the he or the she or the them or the they. I swear, in the mirror. Because it's that person's fault. We're all in progress. And if you don't have a really good relationship with the person in the mirror, and the two of you don't realize that, hey, we're in this thing together, it's up to you, it's up to me, let's go. I know 4 or 5 people right now that I've had pretty intimate conversations with over the last couple of months. And no, I'm not going to name any names. But this is their problem. They blame other people for their lack of success. Well, I don't have the checkbook this person has. I don't have the money this person has. I don't have the car that this person has. I don't have the business. I don't have the resources. I don't have the wife. I don't have the husband. I don't have this. I don't have that. These people, we've all done it. But look at all the valuable time that you could be spent doing and achieving that is misspent because you're not doing and achieving because you're blaming somebody else for it. For 25 years in the music business, I saw it every day. Every time I'm working with a new artist, well, I got to have a publicist. Oh, I got to have a manager. I got to have a branding agent. I've got to have a booking agent. And I'm not where I need to be because I don't have a manager, and I can't get a manager because I don't have a booking agent, and I can't get a booking agent because I don't have a publicist, and I can't get a publicist because I don't have the money. That is about how that process goes, in all honesty. The thought never really occurs to people like, look, I'm just going to work my ass off. I'm going to get the attention. That attention will cause a demand. That demand will turn into money. That money can then pay the publicist that will attract the attention of the manager that will then go and get you a booking agent. But it all starts with you. And it rolls downhill. Shit never rolls uphill. I worked with a band. I think I've told this story before. I worked with a band one time. We signed to our record label. And they were going out on tour. Well, the record label, we didn't have the money to go buy them a new, 45-foot Prevost bus. Because they weren't making any money yet. So they weren't making any money. The record label's not making any money. So they were going out on tour. There were 4 of them, and they had to get there somehow. So I'm like, all right, well, let's go buy them a van. So we went down, we bought a brand spanking new Ford E350 van. Brand new. 0 miles. Handed them the keys. Bought them a trailer to haul all their gear around to all of the gigs. And for 3 months, all I heard was the lead guitar player complain about how many dues he's paid and that he should be riding on a bus. If we only had that Prevost bus. And I'm like, dude, we just spent $30-something thousand buying you a van. And then another $3,000, $3,500 buying you a trailer, none of which you had to pay for, none of which was going against your red balance. We just did it because it needed to be done. But his attitude and how he approached every show, every personal appearance, every radio station visit, it was all colored by he thought he should have gotten to ride there in the bus instead of a van. That there should be people loading in their equipment and loading out their equipment instead of them having to do it themselves. Most of those guys in that van blamed themselves out of fucking careers, to be truthful and honest with you. We spent hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if you ask them today, everything's our fault. We didn't do this. We didn't do that. It's blame. And guess where they all are right now? Doing the same fucking thing they did before we found them. Playing the same shitty gigs for the same shitty money. All because you blame other people. Look, I've gone through battles with this as well. I've blamed other people for my lack of doing or achieving. It doesn't last very long because, again, I realize every time I look in the mirror that I'm staring at the only person that's truly responsible for my success. So stop blaming other people. Number 5 is a big one. It's a big, big, big one. We talked about this in the last episode. Self-doubt. But let me tell you this. When you stop and you start to think about being frustrated and doubting how far you can go, do me a favor. This is what I do. Look how far you've come. And even more important than that, have somebody in your circle that reminds you of that fact. And have somebody in your circle, because we can't rely on ourselves to do it. But you need somebody around you that reminds you of that constantly and often. When I get in this sort of mood and I get in the self-doubt arena, and I do it often as a creative, and we talked about that in the past. Most creatives are going to deal with self-doubt daily. But if you have these people around you that can remind you not of where you haven't been yet, but of how far you've come so far, it's so important. I can't tell you the number of times I get in these situations. And what's funny is a lot of us, some of it, scale is different for other people, but it's all the same thing. I can look around and I can see the amazing things that I've accomplished and that I have in my life and the place that I've come. And I get dissatisfied with not having gone the 50% further and not being where I really want to be. And I get down in that and I get depressed in that and I get frustrated. I get pissed off and I get very uncreative and I get very down and I don't want to do anything. And then like my wife will remind me, do you not remember when we had nothing? Literally nothing. We lived in a shithole. We had just had our first daughter. We struggled. I remember she reminded me, we were sober. I remember my parents sent us $100 and I remember we felt like we were on top of the world. We went out and got Chinese food. And today I can have anything I want whenever I want it. And we forget those things. Self-doubt is always going to happen. But again, if you can remember, stop focusing on where you haven't been yet and look at how far you've come. There are a lot of you out there that see your current circumstance as a result of not achieving what you want to achieve yet. Every single person listening or watching this podcast can look at where you are. And even if you started 3 days ago, look at how far you've come. You made it. You woke up this morning. And, you know, some of us at times, I'm the same way. I forget that, you know what? We woke up this morning. Major accomplishment. And maybe if it starts there, that's the expectation that we have on ourselves. Maybe we won't doubt ourselves as much. Number 6, fear. I know more people that keep themselves from accomplishing great things because they're scared. Most of the time, it's fear of failing. You're too fearful to take a risk. And my own and anybody else I know, that no success ever came without risk. So you are going to have to get out on that ledge and you're going to have to jump. Now, I don't know if you can fly or not. And we're talking metaphorically here. But you have to jump to find out. Very, very few people have found ultimate achievable and success in safety. Very few. I don't know any, but I'm sure there are some. Every bit of success that I've ever experienced has come with its own amount of sacrifice. But I've also learned a long time ago that I'm not afraid enough of the sacrifice to keep me from the success. Do not let fear keep you from taking the next step, making the right decision. All too often, we want to know the destination. We want to be able to see it before we head out. And a good captain plots the course and sets out. If you want to drive from Los Angeles to New York, you can't see New York from here. But you know it's there. But what do you have to do? You have to physically do the work to get there. You have to drive. You have to buy the plane ticket. You have to hop on a bus. You have to do the work, one foot in front of the other. Don't keep or let the fear of the journey, the fear of the unknown, the fear of potential failure keep you from your ultimate destination. Risk and failure are your friends. If you haven't gotten to that point yet, that's where you need to be working right now. Allow yourself the freedom to take more risks. Allow yourself to understand that fundamentally you are going to fail. It's never going to go as planned. Doesn't mean you're not going to get there. It just may take longer, may take a different route. It may come differently than what you expect. You think right now you're going to be this successful artist. Maybe you are going to be that successful, but maybe you're not going to be an artist. Maybe you're going to be a manager. Maybe you're going to be a publicist. Maybe you're going to be a booking agent. Maybe you're going to do something completely different. But if you're not open to risks and allowing yourself to fail, I can guarantee you'll never find that success. It's just impossible. Number 7 of the 9 biggest obstacles between us and our success is distraction. It's the temptations out there. They're all waiting. They're just steps or clicks away. But if you really, truly want to succeed, you have got to starve distractions. Focus. Focus in on what it is that you're trying to do, what it is that you're trying to accomplish. Realize where the responsibility lies, and that is where your effort goes. Not over here, not over there. Be focused. There's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of people saying this and a lot of people saying that, but it's all distraction. It's all noise. Don't let that noise keep you from hearing the voice inside that will tell you exactly what you need to do. It's the voice that will keep driving you forward. And trust me, it's almost like winning the lottery. You know, you've heard and seen shows and stuff where people won the lottery and then all of a sudden they have family members come out of nowhere like they had no idea and everybody needs this and needs that. Look, success and distraction are the same thing. The more success you start to realize, the more distractions are coming your way. Even in the worlds of things like religion, pastors will tell you, spiritual leaders will tell you, the closer you get to God, the harsher the devil comes after you. It's the same thing. The more success in progress, you don't even look. I see progress as success. That's one of the big things that I've worked on myself. I see that the next accomplishing this podcast today is success to me. I don't need it to get 600,000 downloads for it to be success. The fact that I came in here, I made the time, I sat down and I did it, whether it's good or not, I did it, success. Keep the distractions out here on the fringes where they belong, out of your range of motion and out of sight of your focus. Number 8, safety. Again, most people will say they don't regret the things that they've done, but the things they didn't do. How often have you heard this, whether it's in movies or sayings or motivational quotes on hashtag Motivation Monday on Instagram that basically allude to that idea that on your deathbed, are you going to regret that you didn't do these little things that you think are important today? No. You can't accomplish the big things from a place of safety. You can accomplish little things, little minor steps, and look, maybe at some point you'll reach the objective. But what I don't want you to do is let safety become a safety net. The biggest rewards, the highest successes, and the feelings that come associated with those things are from the adrenaline that comes along with walking the tightrope without a net. How many times have you heard very successful entrepreneurs? They talk about it being the hunt, the challenge. It's not necessarily the end goal or achieving it or winning. That is what they're in their business for. They're in it for the chase. They're in it for the hunt. Because that's the most exciting part. And look, it is for me as well. If you are not enjoying your journey, your journey is heading in the wrong direction. I'll tell you that right now. Because if you're not happy with the journey, you're not going to be happy with the result, and you're certainly not going to be happy with the destination. So maybe if you remove the safety net and go, okay, I've got my idea of what I think I want, which, by the way, will change drastically over the years. What I want now is not what I wanted 10 years ago. It's not what I wanted 5 years ago. It's not what I wanted 2 years ago. And most definitely, probably next week's not going to be what I want next week either. But it's the process that gets me off. It's the unknown. It's the lack of safety that does two things. One, keeps me worried, keeps me stressed, but it's also the thing that drives me forward. Because I don't know what I would do if everything were just a safe situation. And out here in California, we run into it all the time. You see these kids graduating high school, going off to college. Their parents have already left them $25-30 million in a house. And they're starting life from a very, very, very safe place. But I will tell you, most of the time, those people don't really make much of themselves. Sure, they might go on to make more money. They might go on to have more houses. But what you will find is that's not what makes you really fulfilled in here. It's the risk that makes the reward valuable. So if you can somehow allow yourself to operate from a position of risk instead of safety, you will accomplish more and you will experience more, because after all, that's what this is all about, is the experience. As I've gotten older, I've said several times to friends and family, what I'm into now is not necessarily things, materialistic things. I've had 17 cars at one time. I've had the mansions. I've had the money. I've had all of those things. Collectibles. I've been into a million different things. None of it brought me any happiness. The pursuit of it brought a lot of happiness. And now I'm into experiences. Motorcycle things. I'm huge into motorcycles right now. I just bought the new Harley Davidson Pan America. Not because I needed another motorcycle, but because of the experiences I want to have on that motorcycle. I get no pleasure whatsoever of owning the motorcycle. None. But every Saturday, when me and Eve and Josh and Tim and everybody else that we ride motorcycles with occasionally, when we go out on rides every Saturday morning, that's what I'm in it for. Owning it is nothing. It's the experiences that come along with it. The rides that we've planned. I've been watching more adventure motorcycle trips on YouTube than any one human should consume. But we want to do that. We have plans. We want to do a Pan America ride where we ride all the way from like Anchorage, Alaska, all the way down to Baja, Mexico. It's the experiences. Allow yourself to focus in on the journey and the experiences. You won't have those things unless you bring in a huge element of risk. If you're constantly trying to operate and move forward from a position of safety, you'll never move very far. It's almost like a car or a motorcycle or any other with a governor on it. It's only going to go so fast. Why? Because it's keeping you safe. There's absolutely no chance of anything happening or you going too fast because it's safe. It's in safe mode. Your computer has a safe mode to where you can't fuck anything up in that mode. But guys, life and living and the experience, the value found therein is all in the fuck ups. In all honesty, it is. Number 9, procrastination. And in a big way, procrastination is a form of self-sabotage. And a lot of it has to do with many of these other, these objections that we place in the path of our success, procrastination being a self-sabotage is a combination of all of these other things. We procrastinate because we're envious of somebody. We procrastinate because we're fearful. We procrastinate because we don't think we're good enough. Self-doubt. I'm getting better, but I can honestly put out there that I think that at times I've been probably one of the world's biggest procrastinators. The saying is, why put off till tomorrow what you can do today? And my whole thing in life has been, why put off today what I could do tomorrow? Every day that we spend procrastinating is just another day spent worrying about what we need to get done. That's the way that it is with my life, and that's what I find every single time. So I've tried to stop procrastinating. I'm getting better. I've not whipped it yet, but I'm getting better at it. And what it really comes down to is discipline. Do you have the power that it takes to discipline yourself enough to stop procrastinating and get it done? If you are, in all honesty, you find yourself procrastinating, what you really need to do is figure out which one of these obstacles is causing you not to act right now. Could it be the safety thing? Maybe it is. Stop procrastinating. Let's run back over this list one more time. The 9 biggest obstacles that you put in your own way to keep you from your success: envy, perfectionism, comparison, blaming, self-doubt, fear, distraction, safety, and procrastination. Guys, I hope you got something out of today's episode of the podcast. And as we wrap up, again, I want to make sure that I make very clear, I'm not up on the mountaintop preaching down, okay? I'm down there with you guys. Every single one of these things, all 9 of these things and more, I deal with on a regular basis. And I know you do too. Maybe we can be a support system for each other to get past them and get over them and get on with our lives. Because I don't know about you, but I'd like as few obstacles between me and what it is that I want to achieve as humanly possible. So I appreciate each and every one of you being here, whether you're listening, whether you're watching. I'm so glad that videos are back on the main YouTube channel. I don't know why, I just am. It's, again, I was procrastinating and I was having self-doubt and listening to other people, all of these steps. So little by little, it is possible to overcome all of these things. Guys, thank you for being here for yet another episode of the Steve Freeman Podcast. Be sure to share it with a friend. If you think that they might get something out of it, share it with them. Leave us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. Make sure you're following the podcast. Leave us a written review. It takes 30 seconds out of your life. Tell me what you think about the podcast. It can be positive, negative, doesn't matter. But do give us the 5 stars if you do like it. I really appreciate it. If you're watching the video version on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon, and tell it to notify you of all videos that get uploaded. Because I think now we're uploading every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Different sorts of content. Podcast on Wednesday. Some other different kind of video on Thursday, and then another thing, probably like a vlog on Friday. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel. And I'd love to get your feedback. I'd love for you to become a member of the community. Just text me, 949-577-8227. 949-577-8227. Text me. I'll text you right back. And again, on Instagram, make sure you're following me there and everywhere else on social media. Same handle everywhere on all platforms at the Steve Freeman. And quick note, all of my accounts other than Twitter are verified, blue check marks. So if you look me up and it doesn't have the blue check mark, then it isn't me, and don't waste your time. Don't ask me questions because I don't know who that person is, and you will not be communicating with me. So there you have it. Guys, until next week, dream big, work harder.